WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. It is a Purple Friday. We're at the Chaucer. I call it Highlandtown because I grew up in Highlandtown. I love Highlandtown, and all of this is Highlandtown to me. Canton was Highlandtown to me when I was a kid. Some call it Brewers Hill or Upper Canton. And, when I put this Maryland crab cake tour together, there's no crab cake here right this moment, but there will be at the Chaucer. Brian has promised me that. I thought it was going to be about conversations in neighborhoods. And I thought to myself, let's start this thing in Highlandtown. And I dreamed this thing up, 30 crab cakes, 30 days. Zeke Cohen is here from Council 1. I've not had you on the show. I'm embarrassed that I have not had a crab cake with you. I always think guys like you, after I've been doing this like 3 years, you're like, he's never going to call. He doesn't like me. You can't have him on the show. I see your signs in all the windows here, and I'm like, I want to meet Zeke Cohen one day. So thank you for coming by today, making some time away from your family, man.
No, it's good to be with you. I'm a fan of your show. So
well, you got the mask on here too, and you're a medical family. I want to give everybody this straight out. You're keeping it clean here as Baltimore rises.
That's right. Shout out to all of our medical professionals. My wife's a physician, and just want to thank all of our nurses and frontline workers, keeping the mask on because, this Delta variant is no joke, but it's good to be with you.
Well, it's good to have you here as well. Josh is here from you guys. Everybody knows everybody in Highlandtown. I feel like I'm out of the loop because the Patterson to me was a movie theater where I saw Jaws, where I saw Amityville Horror. I saw Stripes. My dad and I would take the number 10. When Heidi Daniel gets here from Enoch Pratt, there was the Grand movie theater right over where Frank Zappa resides forever, which I think is kind of cool in East Baltimore. And the creative arts and going to Matthew's Pizza and all that. Well, my lifer pal Brian, we've known each other from Berkshire in 1980, opens a place in the neighborhood here. My wife and I are about to sell our place. We're thinking about meandering over here near the park. There's good energy happening over here, right?
Yeah. And I'm over at the Creative Alliance, and we still, we were open there in 2003, but we still have people knocking on the door being like, y'all still show movies here, right? Like, I saw a movie here a year ago, I'm sure of it. And we're
Dollar
like,
movie, right?
Yeah, Dollar Movie was the end, yeah. We meet a lot of people whose first dates were there. And
dude,
first
I just thought about
kisses
this. I saw Star Wars there.
We've seen a
when
bunch
it
of Star
opened,
Wars people.
First run, I saw Star Wars at the Patterson. Wow. I haven't thought about that in 44 years. But the force is with you at the Creative Alliance. Yeah. Zeke, for organizations like this, and, you didn't grow up around here, right? I grew up in Dundalk, Jaeger's Music right here in the corner where, Mr. Shan gave me guitar lessons in 1974, right? You have fallen in love with this place, and you are, and I don't know you at all. I fist bumped you for the first time ever. We've never had a conversation. I see you as this sort of incredible cheerleader for all of this, right?
Absolutely. So I'll say this. I did not grow up in Baltimore, but this city adopted me. And what I mean by that is actually my first house I rented was right across the street from Creative Alliance. I think I've told Josh this story, but there was this bar directly next to our house, and it was off the hook. Like, it was fights every night. It was people getting excessively drunk and making a ton of noise. And I lived in the basement, so I didn't really care. But my brother lived upstairs, and so he would hear it every night. And so one day he was like, you know what? We got to get rid of this bar. Like, it's too much of a problem, too much violence. And so my brother, a bunch of folks from the neighborhood, folks from Creative Alliance.
What years are we talking about here?
So we're talking 2000 and I'm going to say 8 or 9. I was a teacher at the time, teaching in West Baltimore. And a bunch of folks organized to try to pull their liquor license because we just had enough of all this spillover violence happening in the neighborhood right next to this amazing Creative Alliance theater. And so we all teamed up. We went to the liquor board. We said enough is enough. And due to the hard work of my brother and a bunch of people and Delegate Brooke Learman, it was the first bar to lose its liquor license in I don't even know how many years. But the cool thing about that story is just recently Creative Alliance has started building an expansion on what they're doing, their second building right there where that bar was. So we went from having this horrific, violent, awful bar to having now an expansion for Creative Alliance, which is huge. And to your point, that whole Eastern Avenue piece where you can walk down and hear 10 different languages being spoken. You can get Matthews or pupusas or tacos. You can get food
chicken Rico.
Chicken Rico.
Yeah, man. I've done that a few times.
Anywhere in the world. To me, that is what urban America, that's what cities should feel like, should sound like, should smell like, should taste like. And so I love it. We live right over here, and we're raising 2 kids. My wife and I absolutely love this community. We're going nowhere. And I would say I am the biggest cheerleader for Southeast Baltimore that you're going to find.
Well, I came in. Josh shows up here from Creative Alliance. And Zeke, I don't know either one of you. I'm here with Brian. I'm eating tuna tostadas and talking fish and talking Orioles baseball and Lamar Jackson and how we're going to beat the Chiefs and like all that. And knowing each other and building things together, this is like when people do know each other enough to say, we got to make our neighborhood better. That's the way it was in Colgate. That's the way, Brian and I talk about Colgate and Berkshire, that neighborhoods are that's the way forward for this country. It was always the way forward for this country. Tell me about the Creative Alliance and your involvement in this, because I did an arts week, man, I want to say maybe 12 weeks into the pandemic, last spring and summer, when it became very obvious that the world wasn't coming back quickly. Yep. And you guys were making masks. With the Latino women, and of course I'm one of the Latino dudes, that you were, and that's the last I heard. And indoor spaces obviously were no-nos. We're all trying to figure this out, mask, unmask. I got my Ravens mask here in my pocket somewhere. I've been wearing that. Give me can I come over there and see a show tonight?
Tonight you cannot see a show, but last night you could have seen a show.
Okay, fair enough. So we're working, though.
But tonight we're doing a virtual show. We are doing some streaming out of the theater. The first thing we did when the pandemic struck is we created a program called Sidewalk Serenades, which allowed performers to safely travel around the city and perform for audiences. We canceled our first show on March 12th, I think.
Is this Christmas caroling but on the road?
Yeah, kind of. If you were interested, we would put up whatever artist it was. If you were interested, you would pay a fee. They would come to you and perform for 30 minutes. And it was super successful. We put about $100,000 back in the hands of working Baltimore musicians, did 514 serenades from the start of the pandemic till we stopped, and kept the music alive. From the start of the pandemic, we did, you talked about it, we did the mask making with the Artesanas Mexicanas program. We were able to convert our gallery space into a virtual gallery, so we continue doing art shows.
Do you still have those masks?
We do have some of those masks.
I hate my mask right now because it's been a year and a half. I never took the mask seriously, Zeke. You know what I mean? I wear them, but I never got a comfort fit one because I thought, I don't want to get comfortable short term. You know what I mean? And my wife had cancer, and I know you're in a medical family. For 2 years, my wife had leukemia. I mean, I wore a mask, but I never got a Gucci one. I just wore the blue medicals and threw them away, right? I got to get I got to get serious about this.
We still have some. We sold a ton of them and raised a lot of money for that community. I mean, really, that's what we try to do.
I want one that makes me look like a Mexican wrestler.
I don't think we have any of those, but I know you can get some of those.
I want to get one of those.
I'm sure we can commission one of those from an artist.
That'd be great, man. A little Mil Mascaras for me for old school wrestlers.
Yeah, I mean, it really is about when the pandemic hit. Organizations like us had to look internally for a second and realize, what is our function in the community? What makes us necessary and essential? And what we realized is it was about support and about listening. And so what we did is we ensured that the musicians who were really stressed at the top of the pandemic had jobs, had money coming in. That the immigrant women who we were working with, who did not get the support that others were getting, had income coming in. That the community was feeling that the arts were still essential in their lives. They could watch it on their TVs, on their computers, but they could also see it in a safe way outside where there's some fresh air around and they could be comfortable. And, it really allowed us to think long and hard about who we are as an organization. And I think we are coming out of this pandemic stronger and more excited about all the work we're doing.
And let me say this about Creative Alliance, which is that they're not only an anchor in this community, but they've also been a bulwark. And what I mean by that is pre-pandemic, during the previous President Trump, when we were seeing ICE raids all over Southeast Baltimore, when we were seeing our Honduran neighbors get picked up outside of Walgreens, or when a dad dropped off his 9-year-old child at school and got snatched by ICE, Creative Alliance really stood in the breach. We had a number of churches. We had folks from Casa de Maryland. We had my office. And we stood together for our immigrant community because, Nestor, as
my father
know,
came here from Venezuela in 1965. So, and
this has always been, right? Whether it was the Polish, Ukrainian, now Central American, South American, what is beautiful about this community is its diversity. is just the richness of the culture here.
Yeah.
And so we all wanted to stand together, and I'll be forever grateful for Creative Alliance because they really were on the front line and were willing to stand up and say, you're not going to keep snatching up our neighbors. This is our community, and we're going to define it together.
You know, it's an amazing thing because this is the first Maryland Crab Cake Tour stop. We're in Highlandtown. We're at the Chaucer. They call it Brewers Hill, Upper Canton. But I used to take 23 bus up here. We're talking about in the 70s and 80s because this is where you transfer to go to Memorial Stadium. G&A Coney Island Hot Dog forever. Right. Epstein's, Stella's, Goldenberg's, all these, Rivera's Pizza, Jaeger's Music, all these legendary places that I would come up here all the time as a kid. And my wife and I live downtown 18 years now. We're selling our place and thinking about – my wife wants a rooftop, which I see a lot of up here. We got those. And some outdoor space. And, like, I feel the outdoor space here at the Chaucer. But seeing that when I was 1979, 80, I was 11 years old coming in, no one was Hispanic, not just in Highlandtown. There were almost no Hispanic people at all. Like, my father was one of the very – if he found anybody that spoke Spanish, he would befriend them just because it was the only thing they had in common. They could speak the language. It's so different now, right? And especially in this neighborhood. My father used to have to drive to D.C. to get like a plantain or a yuca in 1978 to get Latin food. Sure. And there's so much here. To your point, I think you said 10 different languages. I'm a cuisine guy, which is the crab cake tour, you know. So I love eating, and I love trying everything. So within 5 blocks of your place, I think you can go to 30 countries, I think, to eat.
Absolutely. And when we think about programming, when we think about the artists we're supporting and the music we're producing, it's thinking about all those different communities. So last night we had an 8-piece Afro-Colombian group. 2 weeks ago we had some skate punks who play marimba from Mexico City, and those communities came out. You know, and that's the part.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, like you're not gonna see that at other places in Baltimore. It's about connecting with Highlandtown and the various communities that make up our neighborhood.
Which is why I will say this is the only area that is growing in population, and a lot of that growth is our Hispanic community, right? We saw from my district, while the rest of the city has sadly lost population, we gained about 3,000 plus new people over the last 10 years in the census, and it is one of the only demographics that's growing. These are folks who buy in businesses, to your point, restaurants, also buying up homes, working. I mean, just complete opposite of what President Trump said about this community, which was constantly demonizing, and they're coming for our jobs.
Oh, I went down to President Street to give him the finger. I did. I mean, I did.
Listen, this is what I would say, is that contrary to his rhetoric, this is a community that really stabilized and in some ways saved our city when we were seeing population decline all over the place, when we were seeing white middle class, black middle class moving out of Baltimore. That Central American community that came in really a couple of different waves came here. And to me, that's a big part of the success over here. That's why Southeast Baltimore is thriving, is because they came in, and so we don't have abandoned houses. And so you and your wife can come here, get a nice house with a rooftop deck, eat all over the place, and live with a bunch of neighbors from all over the world.
I mentioned the Thai food down the street here in the FA, but I'll get into that. Zeke Cohen is here. Josh Cohen, correct?
It's actually Cohen.
Cohen. Okay, make sure I pronounce that correctly.
Yeah, it's all right. Most people say Cohen.
Performance director. What does that mean? And tell everybody that is not familiar with the Patterson, or they want to come and see a double feature this weekend with Andy Vivar, that it's not. But tell everybody how they can be involved in what you do.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll give you just a basic history. Is that the Patterson is a former one-screen movie house, but it is not a one-screen movie house anymore. It was sitting derelict for a while. It was taken over by an arts organization called the Creative Alliance, which didn't have a home, which was just moving around mostly Southeast Baltimore.
It needed a stage, right?
It needed a stage. It needed a home, and Highlandtown needed an organization like Creative Alliance. So it moved into the Patterson.
15 years ago, 20 years ago?
2003 is when we opened the doors to the Creative Alliance.
I've lived here forever, and it felt like 15, 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah, 2003 it opened the doors, and inside the building, if you come into the building, it's essentially an entirely new building inside the frame that was a former.
I haven't been in. I'm embarrassed.
All right, so come on in. So we have a huge visual arts gallery. We have this beautiful bar in the front. We have 8 live-work artist residency spaces where artists live and work for up to 3-year residency terms. So there's always people in the building creating work, living with partners. There's dogs running all over the place. Then there's a theater space where we have performances, and we also do a lot of education work. So there's lots and lots going on. If you came, say, on Saturday, we're closing down East Avenue, east from Eastern to Bank, and we're having a big street festival. It's focused on the Latin American community here. There'll be music.
So the food will suck, right?
The food will be terrible. You'll hate it. The crowd is horrible.
I won't want that.
The music is going to be the worst, and it's going to be a killer time. Totally free, 2 to 7 o'clock. And it really is in partnership with the community.
Tortilla cheese on some corn for me. Is that possible? It's a street festival. I need street corn.
I'm hoping there's some street corn there.
All right,
I love it. It's always delicious.
Count me in.
And you might know we have this giant bus stop in front of our building that people know us for. It spells bus in 12-foot letters, B-U-S. People take their photos on it. It was created in partnership with the community here, and so we'll be putting music we like to do this. We like to turn that into an outdoor stage of sorts. So there'll be music on and around bus, and it's just gonna be a fun time. And this Saturday is gonna be beautiful. So it's a good way if you've never been to the space before. You can come on out, come on the street, get a piñata if you want. Come inside, grab a drink, and see the space. It'll be wide open.
Zeke, before you go, you have a beautiful child. We're Facebook friends. I see, like it's been a school week. What's it like to be a councilman? I just want you to extol a little bit because you're going to leave soon. I'll get you on another time. We'll go issue by issue and talk stuff. But just in the general sense of things, I appreciate that I hit you a couple days ago. Say, I'm doing this thing at the Chaucer. You come in, you know everybody here. That's kind of what a councilman should be. When I'm with Costello down in my area, he knows everybody too, but they're all yelling at him,
Listen,
that happens too.
Yeah, you should see my Facebook profile and the neighborhood association groups and all that.
You are the piñata.
That's right. That is a big part of the job description. No, it's great, man. I love what I get to do. I get to represent amazing, rich, diverse communities. I get to every day is like a PhD. You get to learn something new. Get to spend time with folks like Josh at the Creative Alliance at our anchor art institutions. Get to welcome new businesses and new restaurants. And then the thing I love too is I've gotten to do a lot of work on a topic that I'm passionate about, which is trauma-informed care, having been a public school teacher and having worked with kids for most of my career.
And their parents.
Yep. Being able to pass a law that was first in the United States to make any major city fully trauma-informed. To me, that's the great part of my work. That's where Brandon is, right? I mean, that's a big part of his leadership, right? Yeah, so he has definitely built it all the way into his anti-violence plan, and he has been an amazing champion for that work, and we've worked pretty closely together on it. But this was a law that we passed after a school shooting in 2019 where some young people came to us, the city council, and said, listen, you all need to do more to prevent not just this one-off shooting that happened at Frederick Douglass High School, but the day-to-day issues around homelessness, issues with addiction, issues with community violence, issues with racism that we find within our communities. And that's what we want you focused on. And I spent the next year or so running around the city, kind of like you're doing on the Crab Tour, listening in libraries, in laundromats, in rec centers, trying to figure out how we could legislate this idea of reducing trauma. And we wrote a bill. And a year later, we went back to their school. I got it passed unanimously through the council, and then Mayor Jack Young at the time signed it right there at their high school. And that's been a big thrust of my work over these last couple of years, and I love to get to do it, man. I mean, there's nothing else I would rather to do. I was a teacher. I've run a nonprofit, but this kind of energy, the frenetic pace that you work at, I just love it, and I love the people, and to me, this is what's great. Well, for all of you who serve, with some honor, integrity, and how hard it is to run and do all of those things, and then get the gig, and keep these relationships, try to make your community better. My dad was always proud of that as a Little League coach where we grew up in Colgate. And, at this point, 30 years doing radio,
turning airtime over for these great causes. I'm into it. Listen, I'll buy you crab cake and 2 beers, but I got to get one of those shirts. Where do you get that shirt, man? That's a good-looking shirt.
Yeah, I can get you one of those.
I'd wear it, too, wouldn't I?
You can work on that, yep.
I'd see me in Vegas on that on Monday night as well. Josh, I appreciate it. Give everybody how to find Creative Alliance.
Sure.
If they want to come down, buy something. One point I got invited to a party that was like the big Super Bowl you have every year. It was a Willy Wonka theme, I believe, a couple years ago.
It's called the Marquee Ball. The Willy Wonka theme never happened because of a little pandemic that took over the whole world.
I remember this, and this disappointed me greatly.
It will be happening again.
I had a purple jacket, man, and a cane.
Man, I was all ready for it. And I'll be there this year. April 23rd will be our Marquee Ball. We already have it all set up.
Is it Willy Wonka?
Yeah, it's going to be Wonka themed, yeah.
Let me get this on my calendar. April 23rd?
Yeah, I'm probably not supposed to be announcing this publicly.
No, that's all right. You just
whatever.
did. It's all right. Nobody listens to this show, believe me.
Yeah, April 23rd. So we'll be doing it again. We had to take a pause, so we have all the pieces ready, and it just
April 23rd. Hold on, that's a month.
Hold
on, I'm in May. Hold on, Saturday night, April 23rd.
Yep.
I'm putting it in right now. Creative Alliance.
It's always the craziest party. People dress up. They drink a little too much.
I have been told all the above, and why do you think I'm coming?
You got to do it. We've got a band of just the most insane young Baltimore musicians who are doing only sweet tunes.
I want to jam with them, man.
It's going to be good.
All right, so I'm putting Willy Wonka in April 23rd, Saturday night. I'm putting you 5 to 10, but we can go later if you need to.
Oh, it'll go later.
All right, there you go. Yeah. Zeke, appreciate you. Josh, I appreciate you guys. Come back, all right? When Don's around to, pin you down and ask you all the hard questions and all that.
Let's do it. Anytime, man.
I'm getting together with Brandon. He wants to do Coco's and the crab cake. And, one of the things about the local places – I've known Brian forever. We got to talk about crab cakes. Crab cakes bring people together, and that's sort of the symbolism for me with doing the crab cake tour. But it's also about storytelling, about people doing good things in the community. So I appreciate Heather and your team answering the call, and everybody at your office too. Tell me where the first is. Where does it end? I don't know. I'm down in Little Italy, and it looks like you got gerrymandering's a real thing. I mean, we talked to Sarbanes about this, so, there's no doubt about this. But where is your gerrymandered district?
Sure. So I've got everything from Harbor East, Harbor Point, out to Dundalk on the other side. So basically...
Not the real Dundalk, because real Dundalk's in the county.
I mean, listen, man, a couple of blocks are considered Dundalk that's in the city. It's weird.
So you mentioned skate punks here. When we had skate punks, because Bucky was one of my skate punk guys in the neighborhood, and Rudy and those guys. They sent him to the city. They would import the skate because they wouldn't let him skate in the county. Things have changed. Skate anywhere you want now.
Yeah, it's true. They're they build the skate parks everywhere. It's for the
I'm
youth.
with Bucky Lasik on Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia, and there's a bowl, and he's doing his magic, and I'm thinking, man, when they put you down by General Motors across the city line in the Heights, did you ever think you could be legitimized like this? So,
right.
Out of renegade things comes,
always
legitimacy to all this.
Everything.
But I appreciate all that you're doing on the east side. I say east side. That's fair enough, right?
Yep.
That encompasses all of this.
That's right.
I walk your whole district, man.
Yeah, it's great, and it's super walkable. And like I said, you and your wife should move in here, man. It's beautiful.
Well, I wouldn't have to walk so far if I did that.
That's right.
I'd have to walk further to go to Orioles games.
Not too bad. It's doable.
Yeah, Eric won't let me
take
leave.
the water taxi right over.
I'm going to have an Eric versus Zeke. Who wants the Aparicio family in their district?
Come on, man.
All I need is fresh air and some fresh basil out on the porch.
It's sunnier in Southeast Baltimore. Trust me.
I do feel the breeze here. It feels very
nice
familiar to me.
right now.
I'm in Highlandtown. Get out and support the Creative Alliance. I appreciation to Councilman 1, our representative here, Zeke Cohen. Brian Eder and his group here, and they're doing a great job of keeping the bar wet. We're going to have the crab cake out here. Brian he's like, it's not the greatest crab cake ever, but it's really good crab cake. And I'm like, well, I appreciate that because most places, this is the greatest crab cake I've ever had. So he's sort of undersold it.
Yeah.
But today I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
I've had 42 crab cakes in the last 41 days.
What was the best one?
Everybody asks me that. Depends what your profile is.
All right, what was the worst one? That's probably the best.
Oh, I had an awful one in St. Michael's.
Really?
Well, yeah, and it was really disappointing because, I really...
They're just riding the St. Michael's.
Dude, I wasn't trying to find a bad crab cake. I was going on Google, looking at reports, trying to find something representative, and I went in here, and I'll leave, because I'm not going to out this place yet, but I might at some point. But I went in with friends, we ordered crab cakes, and they came, and I took one bite, and I'm on day like 20, so I've had a lot of crab cakes. This is the first one where I just pushed it. I just pushed it away. I'm like, I'm not eating that. That's terrible. I took one more bite, and I'm like, this is terrible. Like, send it back. It didn't taste like crab. So I sent it back, and I looked to the left, and I saw Eagle stuff, and I looked to the right, I saw Philly stuff, and I looked in the back, I saw 76er stuff, and I looked on the roof. It was the worst. I saw Flyer stuff. And I realized,
you're in Philadelphia.
The hell am I doing here? It's St. Mike. These people don't know about crab cake. They dump Old Bay on French fries and call them crab. They don't know what they're doing. Maybe cheesesteak, maybe. That's as much as I'm going to. But it wasn't. Yeah, you ask. Great crab cakes. I'll give you a couple places that are a little far-flung, exotic for you. Old Salty's in Hooper's Island. You got to go there. You want to go to Suicide Bridge near Hurlock, Maryland. Now, ignore the Confederate flag that you see on the way in. You might want to do that. In Ocean City, Ocean City's like in the Cambridge area, just great crab cakes, fresh, out of the Choptank River, in season, female picked. You see the female roe in there; it's sweeter. But the Blue, Harrison's, and the Hobbit, all in Ocean City, they were all premium. And what I learned about crab cakes, if it has some fat in it and some butter, some yolk, some mayonnaise, if you broil the top, you can get the bottom to caramelize if you do it on a hot enough skillet. So now you get the business on top and the party at the bottom, right? Yeah. And that's my favorite crab cake. But it took me 42 crab cakes in a month of deep research. But I'm researching here today.
Listen, Brandon will tell you that Coco's is the best in the city and arguably the world, and I used to get into it with him. He was right. Coco's is amazing.
Oh, Coco's your place. That's not in one, though.
No, it sure ain't.
Who's that? Who's
That's
this?
probably up in four.
I was in four.
It's Ryan Dorsey's there,
yeah.
Okay.
So. Yeah, but it's amazing crab cake. Expensive, but it's worth it.
If I have him buy, I'd have to have David Simon buy, and I grew up with David. We worked together a long time ago. Yeah, the whole Wire thing coming back last week and all that. I've never watched The Wire.
Really?
I don't really have any plans to watch The Wire. You know what I mean? I'm trying to heal the city, not think of imagery that is unknown to me at this point. That, for me, it doesn't serve my purpose to lift the city.
Yeah.
To know about Omar, which I'm sure was a nice man. So, Michael K. Williams.
Yeah, I mean, he was a great guy in real life, but Yep.
Yeah, I tended bar. Your district's Fells Point, right?
Yes.
I tended bar at Cooper's when Cooper was alive, the actual dog, Patrick's dog, and the Homicide cast. Richard Belzer and I and John Cena, we slung drinks down there one night. So, I mean, that even predates any of the Wire stuff. But we've been making films here. We'll get back to doing all that. These row houses can only be seen here. We'll do the Baltimore Rising. How about that? That's our next miniseries.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Zeke Cohen here. We're in one on the east side. They call it Highlandtown, Brewers Hill. Support the creative arts as well, and get over to the Alliance and get a Matthews Pizza, get a Chicken Rico. Come back to Highlandtown and have a good time. I'm going to be having a crab cake here. Heidi Daniels here. We're going to be talking about the Frank Zappa statue.
Oh, man.
I went to libraries when I was a kid. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking. Highlandtown, Baltimore Positive.